Man, I just feel like every day I wake up in America, this country just gets worse and worse. Listen, if you're watching today's video and you're a Republican, before you type something in the comments, please watch the video. Watch the video through because I hate when people immediately click on a video, they hear the first 5 seconds of it, and then they go into the comment section and they're like, blah, 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 blah. Listen to the video. And I would seriously like a well structured reply to what I'm saying here today, because I feel like what I'm about to say completely defeats any arguments that the far right are saying, especially President Donald Trump. Now, listen, I am not a Democrat, right? I am not super Democrat. I'm not super Republican. I own guns. Not only do I have this gun here, I have a whole wall of guns, two Desert Eagles, one with the American flag. Like, clearly that should point that I'm not just sitting here as some far left person saying that I hate the right. No. What I hate is when people lie and people are censored for things that are actually true. So let me showcase exactly what I'm talking about, right? If we make our way over to Google, so let me swap over. For those of you that have been kind of living under a rock or you haven't been paying attention to what's going on with social media right now, Jimmy Kimmel was canceled last night for basically speaking anti-Trump rhetoric. And we can see exactly what he said.
Let's see what he said.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving.
So that right there was everything Jimmy Kimmel said. That is what caused Jimmy Kimmel's show to be paused indefinitely. That right there. So basically what Jimmy Kimmel was saying was that the far right, the Republicans, like President Donald Trump, were quick to blame left radicals for the shooting of Charlie Kirk. And instead of just saying, America needs to be a better place, we can't have political violence, they're immediately blaming. And that's 100% true. Listen, you can be on the right. It's impossible to deny the fact that before any information of the Charlie Kirk shooter was even out, before the shooter was even in custody, President Trump had went immediately on to Truth Social and posted how the far radical left are the reason that this is happening, the reason America's in a terrible state right now. It's a fact, and we can actually see this. If we take a look here, I asked ChatGPT, did Trump blame the left for Charlie Kirk shooting? And right after the killing, Trump said the U.S. has radical left lunatics out there, and we just have to beat the hell out of them. That is honestly kind of scary, just to say we have to beat the hell out of people that are left. Then he says he described the radical left as the problem when asked about radicals on both sides of the political spectrum. Trump and his administration have discussed taking action against left-leaning groups, example, investigating nonprofits, possibly revoking tax-exempt status, and labeling some groups as domestic terrorists in response to what they characterize as violence or radical rhetoric from the left. Now, here's the interesting part. These statements and responses are controversial because no official evidence has, at least in public sources so far, definitely established that the shooter was acting in the direction or supported by any organization or radical left group. So, immediately, as soon as the shooting happened from Charlie Kirk, instead of Trump going on to, make an address saying, we as Americans cannot be having violence, we need to stop this, doesn't matter what political side you're on. No, immediately he blames the radical left. And that's exactly what Jimmy Kimmel is bringing up. He said the far right are trying to win political points by blaming the left instead of everyone coming together and agreeing that we cannot have violence. And here's the interesting part, right? This is the part that I find most interesting. You keep having these right-winged people blaming the radical left for the violence in America today. So what I did, which takes 1 second, is I asked ChatGPT, can you list all the shooting attempts from the left versus the right in the last 10 years and what has been more common? So let's see what ChatGPT says. Short answer, using reputable data sets that track ideological motivated violence, CSIS, ADL, New America, GAO, CISA summaries, shootings tied to the far right have been far more common and far more lethal in the U.S. over the last 10 years, 2015 to 2025. Far left shootings do occur, but they're fewer. A bump in the far left incidents from around 2021 was mostly tied to demonstrations and was far less deadly. What the data says, this is from multiple different websites that anybody can fact check themselves, CSIS, We got Water ISAC. You can check all of these sites if you don't agree with what I'm saying here. This is from the Government Accountability Office, right? So we take a look at what it says. CSIS Domestic Terrorism Data Set in 2021, far-right actors committed the largest share of incidents, 49%, and nearly all deaths, 28 of 30, were accounted from the far right. Far left incidents rose around demonstrations, but were rarely fatal and used firearms far left often. ADL, Murder and Extremism 2024. All extremist killings in 2024 were linked to the far right. Firearms were used in 54% of those killings. It's crazy, guys. You know, Republicans using guns, they're also the ones that want guns. It's weird how they're using those guns in shootings. Government think tank overview, U.S. Oversight and Analytic Org similarly report that far-right violence has outpaced other ideologies in recent years. Political motivated killings remain a tiny fraction of all homicides. So if we scroll down here, we can see all the shootings. You can pause if you want to read those. But if we scroll down a bit, I said, so does that mean that the right are more violent? Basically, far-right extremists have committed more shootings and caused far more deaths than far-left actors in the U.S. over the last decade. Their attacks also tend to be mass casualty events, Charleston, Pittsburgh, El Paso, Buffalo, often with high-powered firearms. Far-left incidents, like the 2017 GOP baseball shooting or 2020 Portland street killing, are fewer, usually less organized, and result in far fewer fatalities. So if violent means who kills more people, blah, 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 the data points clearly to the far right. What does this mean? It means that the rhetoric that President Trump is saying, that the far radical left are the problem, is factually and statistically incorrect. It is factual that the far right commit more crimes and are actually the problem when it comes to most shootings and violence in America. Now, I'm not here to say whether, I think the left or the right are the problem. But the fact that President Trump is going on national, whatever, the fact that our president is blaming one side when data clearly says the other side is the problem shows the country that we live in today. We no longer have people that we can trust. And here's the funny part. I guarantee there's going to be people that watch this video. Republicans will watch this video, Trump supporters, and instead of listening to the factual proof that I've listed here, they'll type in some random bogus reply that says something along the lines of blah, 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 Trump's the best. That is scary to me. When people ignore facts, when they ignore literal proof that is in front of them that shows more killings, more shootings, more death occurs from the far right with firearms that they support with the Second Amendment. This is the problem with America. We no longer use facts. It's just blah, 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 opinion, opinion, opinion. When you bring up facts, it gives you a broader picture. And the fact of the matter is, we don't know if the Charlie Kirk shooter is left or right. And the fact that our president, before we even had the shooter apprehended, immediately blamed the far radical left for most shootings in America, and they're the problem with this country, and they need to be linked as terrorist organizations, even though the far right commit way more crimes every year, is incredible to me. It's absolutely incredible. And I fully agree with Jimmy Kimmel on that statement. I fully agree. You can be left, you can be right, but what Jimmy Kimmel said is 100% true to the facts, the reasoning, and the evidence that we have here today. That's as simple as it is. And by the way, Jimmy Kimmel is not the only talk show host that has been canceled. We also have Stephen Colbert, who we're actually on the channel of right here, and his channel has also basically been canceled due to the Trump stuff that's going on. The parent company, which Stephen Colbert criticized, did a settlement with, I don't know if it was the president or some sort of Republican team, but basically, I think Trump was trying to sue Stephen Colbert's parent company. Stephen Colbert didn't agree with the company settling, and because of that, magically 3 days later, his show is being canceled and it's not being renewed the next year, even though they just won an Emmy and it's the #1 talk show on late night TV. Listen, guys, I have no problem with people having opinions, right? I love the fact that there are people that can come into the comment section and they can say what they want and whether they agree or whether they disagree with what I have to say here. But at the end of the day, the fact that our country is now canceling and removing people off the air, off TV, because they are speaking what they see as truth is scary. It's actually scary. And that's as simple as it is. So I don't know what else to say. I really don't. But I don't like the way that my country's heading. I really don't. Listen, I don't disagree with everything that's on the Republican side, but I really disagree with the way our president is leading this country. That's as simple as it is. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.